Victoria Dalpe is an artist and writer. Her short fiction has appeared in over 30 anthologies. Her first novel, Paradise Life, will be re-released in 2023 through Nightscape Press. Her short story collection, Le Femme Grotesque, came out in 2022 with Clash Books. She is a member of the HWA and New England Horror. Visit victoriadalpe.square.site. Victoria, take it away.
Hello, and thanks everybody for coming. Let me just set my little timer here so I stay on task. Okay, I'll be reading a short story called The Grove from my collection that just came out in the fall, and let's just get right to it because we have time, not on our side. The Grove. When I was 7, I asked my mother where we go when we die. The memory's quite vivid, even down to the details. The soft touch of her fingertips as her hand cut my face, her smile, both sweet and sad. At the time, she'd been sick for a while. It was a wasting illness that had whittled her down to skin and bone. But still, she was a glamorous woman, often wearing robes and silk kimonos, and she kept her long hair loose and wild around her face. When I die, I'll go into the ground, and I'll sleep forever, and my dreams will become flowers and grass and mud and beetles, and my breath will become the wind, and my tears the rain, and my love will be the sun that warms your skin. And I remembered liking this imagery. I went off to play, my question satisfied, and if she wept as she watched me through the window, and if she felt sadness for leaving me, for loving me, it was hers and hers alone. When a few months later, she lay on her deathbed, smelling of sweet sickness, her hair was all gone. Still glamorous, her bald head was wrapped in shining scarves now. I sat by her bedside, and I held her hand, and I remember her hands so clearly because they were rough and crooked like a bird's claws. And they were not the beautiful, soft hands that I loved. But I held them all the same, and I feared for the future. When I die, will I go in the ground and sleep as well with you? I asked, voice small. The realness of her impending death was sinking in the more I looked at her, and I was terrified to be left alone. Her skin was taut across her skull, and her lips were pulled back, revealing her teeth, and she looked like a monster, a mummy. No, my dear, not you. You'll never die. You're something else, something magical and mysterious, something I found and took with me to raise and to love, though I realize now how selfish that was, as I've barely 7 years with you. I wanted so many more. I'll never die, I asked, and then I remembered being relieved. I didn't want to waste away like my poor mother. It was clear that every moment she spent clinging to life was a painful one. Knowing she fought the grave to spend more time with her daughter was both beautiful and anxiety-causing to one so young. I hated being the reason she suffered. No, my dear, your body may break or be destroyed, but then you will wake a few miles from here in a beautiful grove. That's where I found you years ago. I was out walking, and although I've lived in this house my whole life, and walked the woods out back for just as long, I became lost. I wandered for hours until I found this grove. I stepped over a circle of bluebells, and then I was there, and the ground was emerald green moss, soft as velvet. And the trees were tall and unlike any I'd seen, and hanging off a branch in the center was a cocoon. It was papery like a wasp's nest, only iridescent like a raven's wing, and I touched it, and when I did, it cracked open. And inside there you were, a perfect baby. You looked up at me, and I knew you were to be my daughter. Even to a child who still believed in magic of the world and monsters beneath beds, this story seemed fanciful. I recall wanting to call for the nurse who'd been in and out cleaning and cooking, but she was outside getting the mail, and I could see her at the window down the long driveway. When you were a toddler, I foolishly answered the phone when you were in the bath, she continued, as she licked her dry mouth with an equally dry tongue. I was only gone a moment, but when I returned, you were face down, drowned and dead. And I was so sad, so horribly sad, and I bundled your tiny body in an Afghan, and for some reason I carried you to the woods. And in my grief, I found the grove again. And I know it was only because it allowed me to. In the grove, another pod, bigger this time. I laid your little form on the moss and ferns and went to the pod. It opened just as it had before, and there you were, exactly the way you were that day. And you said, Mama, and reached for me. And I thanked the grove, and I promised never to let anything. She trailed off. I can't keep that promise, my sweet girl. I can't keep you safe forever. And for that, I'm eternally sorry. And she died that night. In the morning, I was alone and an orphan. No father had ever named on my birth certificate, so I went to live with my mother, the estranged older sister a few states away. And she was kind enough, in her way, and raised me as best she could. I often wanted to ask my mother, sorry, everybody. As I grew older, the mystery of the grove, of me being born out of a cocoon, became a sad story a sick woman told her daughter, or to protect her from death. I even tried to find the grove when I was old enough to drive myself. The house had been bulldozed, and a sign advertised a new housing development coming soon. I wandered the woods all day, but never found a magical grove surrounded by bluebells. I tried to move past it, but it would be a lie to say I don't wonder from time to time. A car cut me off once. Could it have been a bad accident? Would I have died? Could I? Or had I just absorbed my sick mother's delusions all those years ago? At my adopted mother's funeral, it was impossible to wonder if I would ever lie in a pine box and sleep in the earth, or if I would just wake up, restored and intact, in a magic grove somewhere. And the chilling reality was that I wouldn't know until I died. Or I didn't. That's that. And I am doing giveaway paper copy for anyone in the US or Canada. And if you're interested in a digital copy of the book, I will give one of those away to a winner from the raffle or however we're doing it. And I guess that's my time. So thanks so much for everyone coming.